What is it about that team that brings out the competitive fire in you guys?
Not going to get into it all the way, but let's just say they're a little disrespectful as far as, how they view us. So we take that personal. I take that personal.
One moment, Cotie McMahon was celebrating a hard-fought battle. The next, she sparked a controversy no one saw coming. A single moment of fiery rivalry, and now, regret? What did she say that had everyone talking, and why is Caitlin Clark at the center of it all? Ohio State and Iowa aren't just two of the biggest names in women's college basketball, they're two powerhouse programs locked in a battle for supremacy. Every time they clash, it's more than a game, it's a test of pride, skill, and determination. For years, this rivalry has been fierce, but lately, it's reached another level. Both teams have built dominant rosters, turning every matchup into a high-stakes showdown. The fans feel it, the players feel it. The energy is electric and the pressure is relentless. But this isn't just about the teams, it's about the stars that are leading them. For Ohio State, Cotie McMahon is the heartbeat of the team. A relentless forward, she plays with raw power and fearless aggression, driving to the basket, battling for rebounds, and refusing to back down. She embodies the Buckeyes' fighting spirit. Tough, determined, and always ready for a challenge. And then there's Caitlin Clark, the face of women's college basketball. A once-in-a-generation talent, Clark holds the NCAA scoring record and has redefined what's possible on the court. Her deep three-pointers, pinpoint passing, and unmatched confidence have drawn comparisons to the game's greatest legends. When she steps onto the floor, magic happens. McMahon and Clark aren't just key players, they're the forces fueling this rivalry. And when they share the court, Ohio State versus Iowa becomes something bigger than basketball. The press conference room was packed. Reporters filled every seat, cameras were rolling, and microphones crowded in front of Cotie McMahon. She had just played one of the biggest games of her career, and everyone wanted to hear from her. She sat down, still catching her breath, her jersey damp with sweat. The game had been a battle, fast, physical, and emotionally charged. She had fought for every point, every rebound, every possession. The questions started pouring in. Reporters asked her about her performance, her team, and what it felt like to compete at such a high level. She answered each one with confidence, her focus unwavering. Then, the conversation took a turn. Her expression shifted. She straightened in her chair, her eyes narrowing slightly. The adrenaline was still pumping, the emotions still fresh. For a moment, silence filled the room. The words hung in the air, and then the reporter sprang into action. Whispers, rapid typing, tweets flying around. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every flicker of emotion on McMahon's face. In one sentence, Cotie McMahon had done more than answer a question, she ignited a firestorm. The moment Cotie McMahon's words left her mouth, they sparked a wildfire. Her quote, "I think they disrespected us out there," spread across social media within minutes. On Twitter, Ohio State fans celebrated her boldness, calling her a true leader who wasn't afraid to speak her mind, but Ohio supporters quickly fired back, accusing her of making excuses and disrespecting the game. Instagram and TikTok were flooded with clips from the press conference. The comment sections were split, with some agreeing with McMahon, while others criticized her for her unsportsmanlike behavior. Memes were born in an instant, some turning her words into rallying cries, while others mocked the situation. Then, the sports analysts weighed in. ESPN ran an entire segment breaking down McMahon's comments, analyzing the game's key moments. Was Ohio's play disrespectful, or was this just a case of fierce competition? Bleacher Report shared highlights showing every physical play and intense stare-down, questioning whether McMahon's frustration had merit. The Athletic published an article asking if rivalries in women's basketball were becoming too personal. As the debate unfolded, old incidents between Ohio State and Iowa resurfaced. Fans dug through archives, finding clips of hard fouls, trash talk, and nail-biting games. The tension between the two teams had been building for years. What started as a single comment had evolved into something much bigger. The conversation wasn't just about one game anymore, it was about respect, rivalry, and the intense emotions that come with competing at the highest level. And with the next Ohio State-Iowa matchup looming, it was clear. This story was far from over. Cotie McMahon's comment had ignited a firestorm. What started as a post-game interview had turned into a national debate. Every major sports outlet had something to say. ESPN's analysts argued, did McMahon have a point, or had emotions gotten the best of her? FS1 questioned whether rivalries in women's college basketball were becoming too intense. Former players and coaches weighed in, sharing their thoughts on competitiveness, respect, and sportsmanship. Some sided with McMahon, pointing to moments in the game where Iowa players celebrated big plays. Was it confidence, or could it be seen as taunting? Others dismissed her comments, saying this was just basketball teams play hard, emotions run high, and rivalries get heated. As the debate grew, both teams were thrust into the spotlight. Reporters pressed Ohio State's coaching staff. Would they stand by McMahon or attempt to cool things down? Meanwhile, Iowa faced its own pressure. Did Caitlin Clark and her teammates take offense? Would they respond or let their game do the talking? Then, speculation began. Would the NCAA step in? Could this impact future matchups? Was this just the beginning of a long, bitter rivalry? One thing was certain. This was no longer just about a comment or a single game. It had become something much bigger. The sports world was watching, waiting for the next move, and no one knew what would happen next. Ohio State was the first to respond, issuing a carefully worded statement that balanced support for Cotie McMahon with a commitment to sportsmanship. "We stand by our players and their passion for the game," the statement read. "Basketball is emotional, and rivalries bring out the best in competition. We respect Iowa and look forward to future matchups." The response was meant to ease tensions, but it did little to quiet the storm. Fans and analysts remained locked in heated debates, with social media still buzzing. Some believed McMahon's comment reflected the raw emotion of competition, while others saw it as unnecessary fuel for an already intense rivalry. But despite all the noise, there was one voice everyone was waiting to hear: Caitlin Clark's. When Clark finally spoke, she handled the situation with the same composure that made her one of the most respected players in college basketball. In a brief interview, she chose her words carefully, making it clear she wasn't interested in stoking the flames. "I have nothing but respect for McMahon and Ohio State," she said. At the end of the day, it was a hard-fought game. That's what basketball is all about. With that single statement, Clark effectively shut down any further controversy on her end. She didn't dismiss McMahon's feelings, but she also didn't engage in the drama. Instead, she redirected the focus back to the game itself. It was a veteran move, one that showed maturity and leadership. But now, the spotlight shifted back to McMahon. Would she stand by her words, or would she walk them back? A few days later, she made her decision. In a social media post, McMahon addressed the situation directly. "Emotions run high in a big game like that," she wrote. "I have a ton of respect for Iowa and Caitlin Clark. My comment wasn't meant to take anything away from their performance." With those words, the tension began to fade. The headlines moved on, the media frenzy died down, and both teams turned their attention back to the game. But one thing was certain, this rivalry had just written another unforgettable chapter, and when Ohio State and Iowa meet again, the world would be watching. In the end, this wasn't just about one game or one comment. It was about the passion that fuels great rivalries. It was about competition at its highest level, where every play, every word, and every comment carries weight. This was bigger than just a single controversy. It was a moment that showed how every move in the sports world, whether intentional or not, can have a ripple effect that fans, players, and analysts will remember for a long time. Both teams moved forward, but the echoes of this controversy lingered, adding another layer to an already fierce rivalry. Fans would remember, players would learn, and the next matchup would be even more intense. The energy, the anticipation, the stakes, it would all be amplified. And let's be honest, whether you love the drama or you hate it, moments like these are what makes sports so unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable moments, WNBA legend Maya Moore just spoke out about Caitlin Clark in a brand new interview, and let's just say she did not hold back. What did she say, and why is the basketball world buzzing about it? Let's get into it right now.